Hey everybody, I'm Matt Hill. I'm in Oklahoma City at the Big Friendly. This is a amazing new brewery downtown in the Wheeler district, and got my friend Tommy Hover with me so we can talk about oil and gas, all the new things you're up to. What's your name?
Roger.
Roger's here serving us. What is this one called? The Oil Boom.
Cheers, sir. Thank you, Roger.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the hat.
Thanks in advance, Matt.
Let's try this.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Oh, baby. That's like leprechaun candy right there. Oh, that's good. All right, everybody.
Don't mind us.
If you're in oil and gas and you need a sip of something, if you're thirsty at St. Patty's Day, come down here to the Oil Boom bar.
The Big Friendly.
The Big Friendly. This is already getting to me. But that's delicious.
It's an Imperial Stout, 12%. But who's counting?
Yeah, well, I'm going to count because I have to drive Misty and Cannon home. They're over at Taco Nation. But man, what a cool area. This is fantastic.
It is. It's just south of downtown here in Oklahoma City. And it's a special place. I mean, we're lucky to be here. It's helping us understand a little bit more about Oklahoma City's makeup. It's the first time we've lived in the city of anywhere that we've ever lived. I was telling Matt that we've been fortunate enough to be in Lafayette, Louisiana, Houston, Texas, and now that we're in Oklahoma City, we're actually living and getting to experience the city life because of having moved down to this area. So
it's not because of you.
Thanks for
You
coming
know that,
down.
right? You have a smart kid who got into the science and math, school.
Yep.
You would have stayed in Edmond with me, but
That's correct.
You have a smart child.
That's a true story. Yeah, that's a true story.
There you go.
Our daughter was accepted into OSSM, Oklahoma School of Science and Mathematics, and my wife didn't want to. It's a boarding school. It's not a boarding school. The kids live at the school, so they board at the school. It's not a boarding school. There's a difference I'm learning, which is why I have to clarify that. But
you can't kick out your child and make them go live.
Correct.
At the school.
Yeah.
They have to live with you.
That's right.
And you have to live somewhere nearby where you don't have to get up too early to get them to and from school.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You picked well, man. This is fantastic.
Thank you. It's
They've
awesome.
done a good job. Oklahoma City has been fortunate. Our industry, oil and gas, leaders, like Harold Hamm, Aubrey McClendon.
Yes.
We have been very fortunate to have so many great oil and gas leaders who've kept their companies here, and they've dumped infrastructure dollars and ideas and visions into our city to make it a place you want to come and you want to stay and you want to live.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a great point. And, I don't know if you're like me, and that's one of the great things I love about your podcast is that you find out a lot of information about people that you think you know, that you really didn't even know that about them. So in terms of, my background is South Louisiana and that part of the country, and you think, every city has a reputation, right? Or you think that you know something about a city based on what you hear about it, and we didn't know what to expect about Oklahoma City.
You thought we were still riding horseback.
Exactly, man. I thought it was
streets,
yeah,
carts.
Yeah. So we had a chance in 2011 when the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico occurred, the Macondo oil spill. We had an opportunity to. They shut down drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, and it was apparent that, or it seemed to me like everything was going to move onshore. And I always viewed Oklahoma City as the hub. Yeah, and it did. It turned out to be a good
kick back off yet in the Gulf.
That's
like
true.
It could.
It's just finally starting to see some uptick in that direction. But we were proposed with the idea of moving this way, and we came up here for a week, and we were like, you know what? Pretty cool, man. It seems very doable. And
cost of living is great.
Yeah.
The weather, we have tornadoes and dust storms.
Yes.
You get to have every season, every day.
Yeah.
From winter to summer with, wind and then calm and then you never know.
No, that's right. So I tell people it's easy. It's an easy place to live. I think the people are very down to earth where I'm from. That's one of the accolades is how friendly the people are, Southern hospitality, and I find that that's here too. I really think, and I don't know if it's because it's a good melting pot of nice people from all over that have landed here. You're one of the nicest guys, one of the nicest people I know. Are you a native Oklahoman?
Yeah, Okeen, Oklahoma. So I grew up, farming, ranching, oil and gas, rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Chasing. Funny story. There was a girl that lived down the road about a mile away. And her dad had a helicopter, so we could go down. They used it. Him and my grandfather would take the helicopter up to go count cattle, but he would wreck the helicopter oftentimes when he'd land because he was a terrible pilot. He built this thing from himself and learned how to fly it himself. But I've been in a few helicopter wrecks. And, been trampled by horses, been bitten by rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Jumped in rivers I shouldn't have. We grew up free range, feral children. This is our generation.
I love it.
You had the same thing growing up in Louisiana.
Yeah, for the most part, a little more water-based in terms
alligators.
of like jumping on alligators and frogging and.
I can see you like paddling down rivers on an alligator. Somehow that's how I've always pictured you.
Not quite that, I'm not that courageous.
I'm sorry, Huckleberry Finn.
yeah, no doubt.
I've known him a long time. We have stories, and we're not going to tell them at all on this podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Matt. Let's kind of keep things above board a little bit here. But
yeah, because we're here to promote our industry. We want to, anybody that's watching this that's in the industry, we definitely have a silo sometimes, but we like to. I mean, there's always going to be stuff I find about you, and one of the things I'm super excited about is your business you've been working on for, 5 years now.
Yeah.
It's 5 years.
Yeah, it's actually going into 6 years. It started off a little bit different than the track that we're on now, but I mean it's been amazing. The whole lot of it, just in terms of why we started doing what we were doing, which initially it began as a professional sales and marketing consulting firm that we were basically sales for hire. Since we had moved to Oklahoma City, I was actually working for a drill pipe company at the time. When things kind of took a little bit of a downward spiral in 2016, and the group that I was with, they had an office here, and they elected to retract and kind of close down things here for this particular office to keep some of their other districts open. So I'm the corporate sales guy for this particular outfit, and kind of made me realize that I'm at the mercy of things that are out of my control in a lot of cases. And so I talked to the guys that I was working for at the time, and I said, listen, would you be okay with me continuing to represent you in sales, corporate sales?
They just didn't have the budget to keep you on a salary.
Exactly. You don't have to pay me like a blue chip corporate salesperson anymore. No more.
Even though he is.
Well, I've been lucky. I've been very fortunate in my career to have met a lot of great people. And I have made the progression in a lot of areas that the oil field is very prevalent. Beginning from where I'm from, Morgan City, Louisiana, small town in South Louisiana, is very heavily service related for the offshore drilling industry. And just kind of one thing led to another. Moved from Morgan City to Lafayette, and then from Lafayette to Houston. Got more into the corporate side when that occurred. And then as we mentioned, I had a chance to move to Oklahoma in 2011. So I met in every one of those stops, and there's periods there where people that were there with me that I was privileged enough to call on got to get to know very well. And as you well know, one of the things you find out about this business is that it's a small world. At the end of the day, you
all these logos we wear.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate the partnership and the paychecks, but you as an individual who I'm always going to be friends with and care about and promote your success.
Well,
and that's how we've learned, what we do is, so vital, just as much as, we know the engineers and what they do is vital, but we're all working together to make that, a successful, program for them.
Absolutely. And, you and I are cut from the same cloth. So anybody that I run into that knows Matt Hill, I know that that's more than likely a great individual because of the company that they keep, and the fact that they respect you and see you for who you are, not just that you're some vendor or that you're only associated with whoever you're representing. I mean, that's important. Obviously, you want to be recognized for
what you do,
what we bring to the table. And what our specialties are. I mean, we're good at what we do. One of the things that we're good at is being a people person. You and I say we. I mean, I know you are a lot like me, and one of the things I want to be remembered for whenever I cash it in is that
75 years from now, I'm going to even when he passes away, he's going to wake up on a robot body, and then he's going to be like, really, Matt? I'm like, I had to keep you.
Well, but it's that I want people to remember me for the fact that I actually cared about what was going on in their lives and what they're trying to accomplish. And if I've got something that I can add to that, and if that happens to help me pay my bills and take care of my family, then so be it, But there's virtues and things involved that are more important to me than just the almighty dollar,
That's why I love you. I mean, we're just so very protective of our industry and what we do, and most importantly, the people that do it.
Yeah, man.
Boom. I'm gonna get all teary-eyed and gushy on this guy, but I've known him for so long. But so tell everybody before we lose them, what's the name of the business that you guys have created now? And by the way, his wife Nicole, thank you for her. She definitely rejected being on here with us. She probably didn't know which way it was going to go and how comfortable and good it was going to be. Well, she probably thought we'd just go on here and get clowny.
She didn't want to come in late. She was. We had a meeting earlier this morning with our web designer, and she was helping take care of that. So she wasn't sure what time we were going to get started and all that good stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, she is my partner in life and in this business. If it wasn't for her, I probably would still be working for someone just as hard as I could and trying to make them as much money as I could.
And she gave you like that, babe, we can do this together.
She basically said, she recognized the things that we had going for us. She's been in it for 20 years. I've been in it for 25 years. She's been in it for 20 years. She's a little bit younger than me. And, we've done well for a lot of the businesses that have had us along for the ride. And, yeah, it does come to a point. I think probably with everybody, you reach a point where you're just like, I think we could do this for ourselves. And, the story with, so I'm sorry for taking so long to get to a point which I have a problem with.
I was scared to death for you guys when you said, hey, Matt, by the way, we're going to go out and be hired guns for, 5 different logos.
Well,
so I was really like, man.
It ended up.
I was just like, and not that I didn't think you could do it. But I could not wrap my head around that whole concept at all. And then you're like, started kicking ass.
And you would be dynamite at it, just FYI. But yeah, so at the time, and I do think timing is everything, depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. But, at that period in 2016, 2017, when things were kind of hitting the skids a little bit, companies were reevaluating their expenses, their expenditures, and if they had some high dollar salesperson on payroll, they had to evaluate whether it was worth, if that individual can be God's gift to sales.
By the way, if you let go of your salesman, you are wrong, and we are worth it.
Exactly.
All you logos out there, let go of your salesman first. God bless your souls. I'll pray for you.
So some companies are tasked, and I know that now because we are a legitimate service company that has to make decisions based on what's coming in versus what we can afford to pay out. And the last thing we would want to do is let go of any of our people. But if it's either let go of somebody or close the doors, you have to do what you have to do to keep the doors open so that you can ultimately go rehire that individual or pay the people that you're also trying to support. So there's a yin and a yang there that sometimes your hand is forced. But anyway, long story short, we were doing very well based on the timing because companies who wanted the experience of a salesperson such as yourself, let's just say, for example, if they wanted to have access to a Matt Hill and Matt Hill's book of business, and if they knew that they could hire you for a retainer and maybe some commission or whatever the format is that you've agreed to set up, but they don't have to pay you a guaranteed salary or car allowance or expenses or benefits or yada yada, well, it's kind of the best of both worlds. And the only way that makes sense for you as an individual is as if you're able to duplicate that process because you're not making the money necessarily that you were making with that organization whenever you were, everything's hitting on all cylinders and you're both.
It took me a minute, for me to kind of think about what you're doing, but I, realized like your friendstomers,
yes,
the people you go and see. They want to see you. It's not like you're making a business call like, Tommy, I can't wait to see you, come on in.
Yeah.
But when you get there, they're like, hey, by the way, I've got this project coming up and here's the 10 things I need.
Yeah.
And if I could take care of all of them through you, well, they love you. They want to see you successful. If you get a piece of it, great. And they have no problem just, tossing as many things at you as they can. And they've got that much out of the way. And they got to help a friend, and their success with their company was somebody that they know is looking out for their success.
And it depends, Matt. There are those cases where there are operators that appreciate that aspect of it, but there are operators that really kind of just only need one little thing, maybe that you're helping promote.
That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it takes a little bit of a.
But you're not like this guy. Like,
keen eye.
By the way, look at all these gold watches.
Yeah, no, exactly. You talk to them about their program because you care about what they're doing.
Yeah, and you want to see them successful.
Exactly.
They're your friends, man. You want to see them like, hey, boss, look what I did. I saved money on the AFE.
Yeah.
I knocked it out of the park for you. Also, I got my guy, the one guy that's like half my procurement department is sitting right in my office.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't have to have 10 meetings a day. I got the one guy who,
Exactly.
like, hey, all y'all get out. I've got him coming in and we got you.
Yeah, so we're a little bit of, kind of a jack of all trades in some respect from the service side of things. I mean, these engineers are expected to know a little bit about everything. What's wrong with a sales guy knowing a little bit about everything?
We do. We've sold for
salesperson.
People,
excuse me.
and after more than 20 years in the business, we and one great thing about the podcast is I broke out of my little silo of here's just drilling and here's just this one piece of equipment to. I want to know about everything. I want to know upstream, midstream, downstream. I want to know land. I want to know geology. You get really interested in everything energy.
That's exactly right, Matt.
And finance of the energy industry, and it just all fingers out to a billion different ways that I can't wait to find out about stuff.
Yeah, it would almost be like somebody frowning upon an engineer that went from production to completions to reservoir to asset management to. That's great that individual got to do all those things, right? They're now cross-trained to.
Look at our buddy Michael Dunn. He got all that round table of stuff. Just one example. There's Marshall Halls. There's my brother-in-law Kevin DeLay. Who's very successful now in what he's doing. Just on and on and on. All these engineers who, luckily, companies like Devon and Chesapeake, Continental. The units and so many more up in Tulsa that put their engineers through the ringer.
Yeah.
And then boom. All these downturns back and forth, but this great diaspora of all of these people we know, and now they're everywhere around the country.
Still relevant, right?
And we get to go travel around, see them, check them out in Houston, Midland, Denver, Pennsylvania, Louisiana. It's a blast now. Yeah,
no, that's a fact. And that's probably the best thing that I could say to anyone who's, either cutting their teeth in this business or somebody that's been around in it for a while. It's one of the things you learn is that it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you catch, if you happen to catch a little wave and everything's honky dory and it's the best time you've ever had in your life, just hold on because, there's going to be some potential whoop-de-doos and things that can happen that, it won't feel like it's so much fun. But you power through that. You power through those times and you just stick to it and you continue to be true to yourself and do a good service to the company that you're working for or that you own or however you're set up. But
you own it now. What's the name of your company right
so
now?
Hover Group is the name of our company. Yes.
And on by all means, I'll put all of this and all of our text, in the podcast realm, all the platforms. The Hover Group. Don't forget that ever.
It's the Hover Group. So in the midst of our sales consulting for multiple firms that saw value in hiring us to represent them, none of them competitively, by the way. In other words, we would never represent a duplicate service. It was if we were representing a service of a certain
they didn't overlap.
Correct. So that's the only way it makes sense for either party, right? Yeah. But we were doing that, and we got a call one day from someone.
Like stuff you could package together, really.
Correct. Yeah. So we got a call from someone in the industry, basically saying, "Hey, do you all work with any women or diversity-owned services?" And we were like, no, not really. What's up? And they said, well, Shell's got an initiative that they've identified 7 categories of companies that don't really have women or diversity-owned spend. And they would like.
You were like the first call for ESG.
Pretty much, yeah. They called it shaping the industry. So they wanted to try to incorporate more diversity and women minority-owned businesses. And so we were invited to attend this meeting, and we went. And we listened to the 7 categories that they laid out of things that they were trying to find more representation for that they could get behind. And completions and wellbore intervention was one of the categories. And frac plugs are a part of that subset of category. And so we kind of felt like that was the least barrier of entry. Some of the other categories were like casing running, cranes, workover rigs, cementing, a lot of intensive capital, requirements.
Lots of people.
So that's kind of something that, and with all due respect, one of the first jobs that I had in the oil field was with a casing running company, and there's a lot of people involved in that. So you can have the best tools, and people obviously are very critically important.
Yeah. But if you have to run a lot of equipment, a lot of people, it's just like, whew. Yeah. It's not my thing either.
Yeah. So, especially if you just can't, if you're trying to pick something that you can get into that there aren't a lot of variables that are out of your control. That's what we were kind of looking towards. So anyway, we went out and found a reputable frac plug manufacturer and got aligned and did some trials for Shell and the Permian and did very well. And
this frac plug, by the way, the Hover Group frac plug, You might as well just call it the Hover frac plug now, because
people call it the Hover plug, which I'm fine with that. As long as you said Hover or not Hoover or Hover or which I can understand. The phonetics or.
Don't even get me. By the way, these are 12 Oil Boom.
This is 40 weight beer here.
We are at the Big Friendly Brewery in Oklahoma City in the Wheeler District, and we are drinking the Oil Boom.
Phonics.
And this is amazing.
It's good, isn't it?
Amazing.
You can run your diesel truck on that thing.
I'm positive of that. Yeah. Whoa.
St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
But so trying to, long story short, we did well for Shell with that initiative, and they ultimately their properties got bought out by ConocoPhillips.
Yeah.
So Shell is no longer really onshore in the lower 48. If they are, I'm not aware of it, but good luck, Shell, if you are. But we were fortunate enough in that time frame to also develop some work in North Louisiana, and have had a lot of success with that plug in the Haynesville and Bossier area shales, which very high pressure, high temperature,
high temp
environment, and we're doing exceedingly well. And I'm as proud of our offering as I could be. And just on a side note, most of my career until I really got into completions and frac plugs was on the drilling side.
Yeah.
And with all due respect to drilling, and I know you have to drill them before you can complete them, I'm a completions hand from here on out. We'll see what happens, right? Never say never. But I love the dynamics of completions, and I love being out on location and the camaraderie that's out there with the services that are.
I love it too. I mean, I've got to go out to completion sites so many times the last year.
Yeah, fire suppression.
Oh man, the fire suppression system. So I've got to meet every frac crew. Feels like across the nation.
Yeah.
Go to every pad that has a frac crew on it and get to train them and get to mix it up with them. I've had a blast.
Oh, I bet, man.
Yeah, it's been so good.
And you hear stories about what goes on out there just from talking to some of the guys, wireline or
the most hilarious guys. They stay on the radio all night long.
They're fantastic, man.
Cracking me up.
And I spend a lot of time on location, and that's that is my favorite part of the oil field. Number one, because you're reminded about the magnitude of what it is that's being conducted out there.
When there's 10 wells to frack in 150 stages each,
and
they're going to be out there for that long of a period. I met one guy. He was out there for 90 days in a row and counting when I met him.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
So so we're very proud of our offering, frac plugs. We're as good as any company out there that's going to offer you frac plugs.
I think your frac plug's better, and you know the reasons why. I mean, don't be shy about it. Just tell people why you're impressed with your frac plug right now.
Well,
Jill's out faster.
Well, there's really three things that a frac plug needs to do in order for it to be considered a good plug. It has to pump down efficiently. I'll say it has to set and hold where you set it. It has to hold frac, okay, and that has to go with the set. But
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. So our plug is a 10K plug pressure hold. It's got ceramic buttons on it. It's a hybrid ceramic, so there's no metal involved in the composition of our plug. It's fully composite. And then it needs to drill out cooperatively. And by that I mean it has to drill out in a fair amount of time and without sending a bunch of big chunky elements up hole. So those are the three primary criteria for what a frac plug needs to do. And ours does all three of those very well.
Yeah, you went back to that manufacturer and on and on and on. You guys become partners in the best frac plug out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're very happy with our plug. And there are different setting tools and ways that you have to deploy your plug, and we are cooperative to whether it's the old Baker style, the way that companies have been doing it for 60 years. They have an old Baker E4 style tool that they make up to, and Wireline rebuilds that tool after every stage, and there's 18 O-rings and they have to add oil to it and it bleeds off on surface. It's been a fantastic technology. It's a little bit of a dinosaur. It's one of those things where eventually you have to acknowledge, man, this had a great run, but it's time for some new and improved method.
So you don't only just bring out your frac plug, you've got everything else that needs to go with it.
We can. That's an option that we do offer for anybody that's interested in that, in having the setting tool stung up and delivered to the operation, ready to go, plug and play, grab and go, however you want to call it.
That's a hell of a service, though. They don't even have to worry about it. Tommy's got it.
Yeah, and that's what makes us a service. Nicole's got it. Again, if it wasn't for her, I would just be running around chasing my tail, doing my thing, meeting people. She has made a business out of what I do well.
She's run some big directional drilling companies too. So
she's had a hand in a few different things, and she's done well in all of them. Yeah. So she's, cheers to her.
Nicole, you should have been on this. We know we get more
Next time.
audience, when women are on our show with us. I know a lot of people out there don't believe that anyone would marry us or we always outkick our coverage in oil and gas. Look around any room when you're at an event in oil and gas, so you know that we've all outkicked our coverage. We're good salesmen.
Hey, man. Yeah, obviously, some women see the qualities in guys like us. So
I don't know how.
Cheers, bro.
Thank you, Big Friendly, Oklahoma City.
Big Friendly.
I'm going to keep plugging them because I get beer and hats.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come visit, drink a beer, private message me, whatever, and let's talk about it. Especially if you need frac plugs running your well. I'm happy to have that discussion as to why we
There you go. If you would like to discuss a frac plug, you get a beer.
Yep. Yeah, how about that? That's fair. That's easy.
Yeah.
And a taco. There's a taco restaurant.
Tacos and beer.
Yep.
Can we get tacos delivered over here?
You need to order them there, I think.
We're ordering them from here. We're changing this for you. It's okay. There's a new company called Trip Ship. We'll talk to Paul Hess about.
Heard about that? Yeah. Saw your podcast
saw
last
the
week.
podcast. Yeah. So Trip Ship can bring me a taco.
Fantastic. Well, thanks.
I know that they said no food, but if I called them, I think they'd bring us a taco.
Trip Ship?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get Matt Little to do it. He won't care what we ask him. He might not even ask to be paid.
Just gratuity and appreciation and camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's a good dude.
What else can we talk about, man? What are you seeing in oil and gas that you're excited about right now? I know oil prices are a little bit crazy right now, but I'm so bullish on oil and gas. I think that the markets are always wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think a lot of people have the oil commodities app. Or, the one that I have, I've seen a lot of people have the same thing, and they provide news daily, I guess, and they try to explain why the dips or the increases in price happens, and it's just like. It feels like they're just grasping at straws, right? Just to have a story for the day of why that is. I know, obviously, supply has a lot to do with it, and then there's geopolitical things that happen all the time, and
Yeah, we still have a giant, Russia against the world, war right now.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
Right, which you would have thought that would have interrupted supply and increased the demand in the European countries and things of that nature, and would have promoted what we're trying to accomplish.
And now we've got we've got LNG plants working, pretty rapidly. We're going to start shipping LNG to the rest of the planet. So that is one of the latest developments. Good.
That's one of the things that Tellurian, I think, one of the companies that we work for in the Haynesville started out with that idea. Maybe it wasn't their idea, but my
drill pipe for Night Oil Tools at the time.
Yeah.
Put the first hole in the ground for Tellurian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Thank you, Peter Burke.
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, there's I think that whole dynamic of, hey, we're going to drill wells, we're going to have the pipeline,
absolutely,
we're going to have the LNG plant, we're going to have the ships, the whole thing.
Isn't that a great idea? To establish yourself with that.
I think that's what
with that business model,
toward, right? Although I keep telling everybody, like, someday I want to drill wells in Oklahoma and pipe it over to Catoosa, have our own little LNG plant out of Oklahoma and ship it to the rest of the world. I know the ships are smaller, but once they get going, does it matter?
It was a great idea when Aubrey had it, and it's still a great idea, and it always will be a great idea. Timing is everything, like we said earlier. It just depends on where you are and the timing of the process. ExxonMobil is the improvements to their refinery down in Baytown near Houston are just coming to completion. And it's perfect timing, right? But they started that 5 years ago. So when they started it, they might have been, are we sure we want to spend this money at this particular point in time? Well, lo and behold, 5 years later, with everything that's going on, yes, actually, it's a great idea, because when COVID happened, how many refineries were shut down, and just, the ability to be able to make useful goods and gasoline and diesel out of the oil and gas that's coming out of the ground. But
and here's what I joke, I tease everybody with electric vehicle and Tesla and all that stuff all the time, but I do agree, burning oil is not that efficient. We take up so much oil out of the ground, we turn it into gasoline, we turn diesel, we turn it into jet fuel. I would love to see eventually all of those oil and gas, barrels turned into products.
Yeah.
And we burn natural gas for our energy, and we take the oil and turn it into products.
Well, yeah. So combustion is the culprit, right? It's not oil and gas that's the culprit. It's what do we do with it? How do we chemically react it to gain the fuel for the energy that we're trying to provide? Is the $1 million question. And
I'm not opposed to hydrogen, because guess what you need for hydrogen? Natural gas.
Well, exactly.
Burn natural gas like crazy. You
Yeah.
get hydrogen. You get hydrogen vehicles.
And there are companies out there that are, there's a multitude of colors of hydrogen, and the usefulness of hydrogen, and it's interesting. You just have to read up on it, and you have to
energy education, energy
yourself on it.
advocacy. Make sure that all these kids are not. And I tell Misty all the time, like, I'm going to pull my kid out of public schools if we don't get refocused really quickly on, I don't care what your colors and your genders are. I just don't care. I want my kids to know science and math and physics and energy. Like, focus on those things. Don't worry about your politics. Don't worry about your religions. Like, let's get our kids up to speed on how to scientifically take care of themselves in the future.
Absolutely. And, our kids, I'm fortunate enough to have 7 kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
When he says the Hover group, it's the group.
Yeah. So
it's the Hover tribe.
We have a blended family, my wife and I, but we absolutely consider all 7 of our children ours, and every one of them is different, right? So yeah, you think that you want your child to turn out a certain way, and you do your best to try to
beat you.
Promote them. I know, man, you're killing it.
It's delicious.
It's time for you to have another.
In like 2 months.
Yeah, I'm a lightweight. So Matt's the big friendly. I'm just the friendly.
Yeah.
So
there you go. You got the friendly hat.
But every one of them takes their own course. They chart their own course, and they do their own thing, and they teach you about, wow, okay, that's cool, because they come at you from different perspectives, even though you're trying to impart your wishes on them, or trying to push them nudge them in a direction. They're like, yeah, that's cool, but you know what? This is more interesting to me, and then that kind of like causes a pause and makes you see things in a different way. So it's cool. I'm a big fan of being a dad and being in the middle of where our kids are dragging us. So.
It's funny, we've got my oldest son who has come to work for Night Fire.
Oh yeah.
He went into immediately after high school, and he was such a good kid. He was always about homework and sports. I don't ever think he worried about having girlfriends. He was just like homework, sports.
Heck yeah.
He was my most focused child.
Yeah.
He was a blast.
What's his name?
Caleb. So the oldest, was just focused on sports and schoolwork. And then immediately after high school, he was going to go to college. He's like, Dad, and every male member of my family's always gone to the military.
Military, yeah. I thought that was.
So it was, he went directly into, he wanted to go to the Army. And he had a troop, or whatever he was going toward. His
battalion.
They were going to go to Germany. So I was so excited for him, because I was exchange student in Germany when I was in high school.
Oh, dang.
And he's like, yeah, they're going to go to Germany, but I signed up to go with this other group, and we're going to go to the desert. I was like, oh, what? What have you done?
Yeah, that just sounds risky, huh?
Yeah,
That sounds kind of
risky.
risky.
He wants to do. Like, he was like, I want to go see some action, yada, yada, yada. So he's like, I'm going to the desert. So I'm like freaking out for a year. I'm trying to get a hold of him on the phone all day. Like, every day I'm like, call me. But, at that age, they don't want to talk to their dad. They're hanging out with their buddies in the desert. God knows what they're up to. It's none of my business, top secret.
Yeah.
And then he gets home, and he's working on airplanes. And then a couple years ago, he's like, hey, I'm going to go to this school. And then he's like, all of a sudden oh, Dad, I went to, the combat medic school with the Rangers, up here, yada, yada, yada. And then he comes home after that, and he's like, I want to,
Talk about a jack of all trades.
Oh, that kid. And he's like, hey, I'm an EMT now, and I'm going to go to firefighter school. And he gets out of firefighting school, and he's applying all over, Oklahoma. But I think he wants to be up in Edmond now. And he won't admit this, but I think he wants to be closer to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably not
He's
true.
as he gets older, he's realizing how cool you actually were.
So he's applying to Edmond, Oklahoma City, but in the meantime, I'm working at Night Fire, and I need hands. And like right before Christmas, like 2 guys belly up in North Dakota, because it is negative 50 up there. And like, I don't want to do this. And my son's like, I'm a firefighter now. I can go up there. And then so who's second? Well, me. I'm just the VP. I'm not anybody. So I run up there. So I get to spend the holidays with my son in North Dakota. So it was pretty great.
Very cool, man.
Like, who knew that like years and years later, I'd have that little guy working with me.
Yeah.
And we're firefighters on a frac site in North Dakota.
Heck yeah.
You have no idea what's going to happen to you in life.
Well, and so, and I don't pretend to know, and I'm looking forward to knowing more about your arrangement with Night Specialties.
It's great. Steve and I he's a savant.
Well, I believe that. And
he makes businesses all the time. He's got the firefighting business, the fence business. He's got the event center coming up. I think he's going to buy a resort. He's got, I think, a helicopter business, a motorcycle business. We're going to have a downhole tools business. I think he's starting
Fantastic.
an LCM business, and I think he might get into well control. So you just never know.
Yeah.
He walks in the door. I don't think he ever leaves home without a scribble pad, and he hands it to you and he goes, "Here's where we're going."
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He reminds me of you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun. I've had, the reason I brought that up about your involvement with Knight is that you obviously are high enough on the rung to be able to recommend hiring your son, and that happened. I hired my son recently, and I, when we started this business, I mean, it was everything that we could do to run it ourselves. And so it's not, and I hired my son, who's a graduate of Southwestern University in Georgetown, Texas, played his D3 quarterback football player.
That kid is an athlete.
Great kid. I mean, just a super kid,
I can't
man.
believe 4 years went by like that.
It did. It flew by. And, when...
He's got more muscles than us.
You know what, man? He's just a big puppy dog. But he saved me from, I got back into the trenches with this business, and I was building tools and, really kind of put my blue collar back on hardcore. And not that bothered me, but it takes a toll on you. And he came along, and I could not have hired anybody any better to take up that baton for me than him. And so I'm super grateful. So anyway, I know exactly what you're saying about hiring Caleb, and
I want the whole Hover family to become that Hover group. So
well,
someday we're going to sit
coming,
on our
man.
yacht.
Hey, Rome wasn't built in a
We tell
day.
our girls we're going to sit on a yacht someday together.
In our
all the kids
Speedos,
are gonna-
right?
Yeah,
You
on our
said Speedos? All right.
And we'll have some gold chains. Are going to get my fat tan in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Speaking of the parts of this that are going to get edited, I'm hoping
No,
it
I'm
doesn't.
keeping that one. Sorry. Paul has said it best to me on a lake somewhere here in Oklahoma, probably Arcadia. He goes, "Matt, tan fat is better than white fat."
Well, yeah. So
He deserves that one, man. I hope everybody watches this by now. They're gonna probably tuned out, but that's good. All right,
since nobody's watching
Hover
anymore,
group,
yeah.
frac plugs.
yeah, frag plugs
Entrepreneurial
and
shit.
frag plugs. Let me also add kill plugs, which are bridge plugs at the end of the well.
Okay.
People like to put a solid core plug at the end of the well, whether they drill it out immediately or wait and come back and drill it out. It's just a nice little insurance policy to keep the well in check. So yeah, I mean I wouldn't be here promoting what I'm promoting if I didn't stand behind it 2,000%. And especially since what we're talking about with all of the people that we get to meet and whose respect we're trying to maintain, if you're going to recommend something to them, you really want it to be effective and to save them, save their neck. Or if they stick their neck out for you for trying your product, then that's sucker better work.
10 wells on location and 150 stages each.
Yeah.
I'd say that's important stuff
Yeah.
right there. Like, you got to trust somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy to be where I'm at. I feel like it took me 25 years to get where I'm at, and I'm happy to be
I would
here.
have trusted you day one.
Well-
I did.
You did, Matt. Funny story, but we're not even going to get into
not
that.
getting into
But
those stories.
Matt's a good bouncer. He's a good friend.
Bouncer. We're not starting.
He's a good peacekeeper. He's
There
a
we
good,
go,
he's a good
peacekeeper.
peacekeeper.
Yeah.
But I appreciate
I love
you,
you,
man.
buddy.
I
God
love
bless
man.
you. Hey, again, thank you, Tommy Hover, Nicole Hover, of course, the Hover Group, and most
Big Friendly.
importantly, thank you, Big Friendly. Happy St. Patty's Day. We'll leave it with this. God bless you all. Thank you, Talking Energy Show. This is for the Oilfield Tailgate. Everybody, please go to oilfieldtailgate.com.
Amen.
Thank you all the sponsors that are on there, oilfieldtailgate.com.
Oilfieldtailgate.com. The SEC is in the house, baby.
Oh, yeah.
LSU, OU, I love you. But looking forward to having some of these SEC schools coming into town. Let's blow this thing out. Y'all, hey, join and support the oilfieldtailgate.com if you're not already doing it. Let's get it going on.
Amen.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Matt.
No, you're not. No, you needed to remind everybody that we're going down to Louisiana this year. Or
Yeah, I'd love to host you at an OU away game in Baton Rouge.
I just need mud bugs. That's it.
You got it, man. You can do that at my house. A couple
I
blocks
think
away.
he has like pawn in his back where he keeps them. I'm positive of this.
That's not a bad idea.
Like, what's that smell?
Yeah, Matt. Always
right.
good, brother.
And hey, happy St. Patty's Day. I raise up my glass and I raise up my gun and I raise up my fist for Ireland. I just made that up. I'm just kidding. All right.
Go Irish.
Take care. God
Notre
bless.
Dame.